Welcome to the Polity, your deep dive into the forces shaping governance, policies, and power. From the halls of government.
You were there. I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. You were there. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They're feeling school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ibuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
In and around the country here on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. The Polity, good morning to you and welcome. I am Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Ibuka is here today. Dr. Tony Lisambeki is also here. Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning to everyone listening to us. Of course, for 2 days I was away because I had to attend a training on LGBT, the one they call sexual and gender-based violence that happened in North. And of course, I must say that it was an eye-opener. Maybe for the very first time I got to learn about what they call positive masculinity, which talks about more inclusive and healthy understanding of masculinity, which gets to emphasize the likes of empathy, vulnerability, and emotional intelligence. Because I imagine how we start that, and we are being taught that we as men we should cry when we need to cry, those kind of things. Trying to understand also even the health benefits of crying. Maybe you didn't know that there are some health benefits of crying. Sometimes when you might need to go to your closet and cry yourself out and then get healed. Then apart from that very one, of course, we have other developments in the political circles. Yesterday we saw the lyrics of what happened at Nnewi during the dedication of the Assumption Cathedral in Nnewi. We know that one night of the Catholic Church, of course, went ballistic where he said he was renouncing Christianity because the church failed to recognize or acknowledge the contributions of Suniti Fanyoba to the building of that very church. And according to him, there was no recognition, but later we saw some reactions from social media. We saw a snippet of the brochure where he was recognized. We also saw a video clip said to be part of the recognition during the homily which was delivered by the Bishop of Dabaran. So a lot has been said, and some persons have described the man as a content creator, saying that before Oba died, that he was not on the same page with Oba. So they were wondering what made him to switch over, to change and become an advocate for Oba's legacy too. That's number one. Then on the other side too is yesterday being the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and of course across Nigeria, in Abuja, governors, the vice president, the leaders of National Assembly, they were all out there, trying to recognize the sacrifices of veterans. And I don't want to believe that they all gathered because they just want to pay lip service or because it's a ritual we have to do. In the real sense of it, do we actually recognize what they do and give them the honor due to them? Sometimes we get to see policemen, the MP not. Do we actually care about the welfare? No more barracks for policemen. This time around, if you are in the police force, you see, go to and look for accommodation and what have you not. But in the times past, it used to be there used to be barracks for them, and they enjoy certain incentives. I talk about the military and what have you not. Sometimes I keep on imagining at a point in time it was an honor for you to be enlisted in the military, but these days people are running away. I know a friend of mine who retired as a captain. In fact, premature retirement. Tony will know him. In fact, the mayor of, I think, Gorumba North or South, captain. Of course, he retired from the army because certain things he said they were not they were not what he wanted anymore, and he left. There are also a friend of mine now. He's now in UK. He retired as a medical radiographer in the military and ran to UK because he believed that they have a better provision for them. And yesterday in Anambra, the governor, during the remembrance event, he made a statement in Anambra State, and where he said the Igbos have to live beyond the 1966 war to 1970, now the Nigerian Civil War. And I saw the report somewhere on Punch newspaper, and I went to the comment section. What I didn't see there, or what I saw there, kept me wondering how people get to interpret certain things or certain calls being made by leaders in authority. Maybe by the time we get into conversation, we'll talk more about that.
All right, Dr. Tony Lisambeki, good morning to you.
Good morning, Chisom Chinedu. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, in the Anambra. Good morning, in the Onitsha. Good morning, in the Osimo. Good morning, everyone under the reach of our voice. It's good to be back, and today is Friday. We thank God it's Friday. Today marks the beginning of the new weekend again. Weekend always is time to really unwind and also renew and refuel for the week coming. We are back in the sanctuary of the Almighty, and we are here to profess the truth as usual, to tell the world the truth, to speak truth to the power that be. And we also have objectives. We have so much to untangle this morning, and we thank God Almighty who has made it possible for us, who His infinite mercy, blessings upon us have also been put through in some of the things we do and also some of the things we display. We also welcome you. It's not easy to listen. It's also important to note your contributions as well, since we are talking about contribution. Franklin talked about somebody who felt that Ifanyoba's contribution was entitled for mentioning, not the way it was mentioned, but in a way he would want or he would probably appreciate it. And then he renounced his Christianity. In fact, in the normal street parlance, he's now widely known as Akacham. That's what people call him, Akacham. Are you talking about that Akacham man? So he was saying that that very day would be his last day as a Christian, because Ifanyoba was not mentioned the way ordinarily as somebody who contributed a large chunk of the project when it comes to resources. But if that be the case, one would ask, all this why? Maybe he has been paving or looking for an opportunity to go and serve Ogugu. It could be Ogugu Akbo, it could be any Ogugu. And probably Ogugu has been knocking on his door. And being a knight, you know what being knight is? Knights are defenders of faith. Even when everybody is losing his faith, knights, they do not lose their own. Many don't even know what is knight. If you're a knight of the church, what it means that you are a warrior of the church in the area of faith, not a physical warrior. So if a commander or a general in the battle will tell you that because things do not go well, I renounce, I surrender. That's what the man did. So he has surrendered, even as a knight. Probably because he does not even understand in the first place what is Christianity. Christianity is not a place where entitlement, these things are done. Even if probably one is mentioned and the other person is forgotten, women or humans can always make mistake, but these things do not count in the eyes of God. Humans will always make mistake. That is why we have church politics. We want this quest for one position or the other. Those things do not count in the eyes of the God. The most important thing is the salvation of soul. Yes, that is the most important thing. But the man, possibly, he does not understand those things. He's so much concerned about the physicality, those things, sin, those adulation, those symphony. He said, did you hear Kamburo Biazuri Kenandokwa? Has maybe with that Kamburo Biazuri Kenandokwa, would that also change if Mburobi has been Zuni Kenandokwa or no, or Diazi Kenandokwa?
So some persons even said that the church was supposed to have erected a statue of Ifanyoba in recognition of what he did. You know, the thing brought about different conversations, and some of them made me to worry about the way we think, whether actually we think properly or we just want to talk because of that talking. Because for all I have known any church in Nigeria, whether it's Pentecostal, Catholic or Anglican, I haven't seen where a statue of anybody was erected inside the church or even inside the premises for whatever the person has done. I'll give you an instance of what happened in Abuja. Sorry, I'm going to say this now, but there was a church in Abuja that was built by Obiora Konkwo. Guess what? The day that church was dedicated, his name was not mentioned. I mean, inside the church, it wasn't mentioned, but it was containing the brochure, whatever that needed to be documented. It was documented in that very place. The thing is this: I know that in some churches they have an order, they have the way they do their things. But where I faulted the church is the fact that I think during the homily there was a time that the bishop took time to give a kind of a small background of how the process started. For me, I was thinking that if he had dedicated 2 sentences to the man who was said to have built the church up to 80%, it wouldn't have been bad. But whereby the person who said he was renouncing Christianity went ballistic, removed his shoe, saying that this happened, that the man was neither recognized in any way. It wasn't entirely true, because in the brochure, he was duly recognized. In fact, some persons even said that in the brochure that his name was only written as Dr. Oba, whereas they didn't take time to go through the beginning to see where his full name was written, and subsequently he was referred to as Dr. Oba. So the thing is, in everything, in all the conversations I have seen, some of them were in order, some of them were not in order. But another thing we have to look for too is this: like people, I spoke with some persons who are from Nnewi who know the man personally, and they gave me sort of a kind of
Is he from Nnewi?
Some kind of a history, between the man and the little Oba. They said that before Oba died, two of them weren't all that good friends because of certain reasons. So they were asking, so what changed? Now Oba is no longer living, and then he became the spokesperson for Oba. Then another side of the conversation, which I do not have the facts now, is if the church extended the invitations to the family of Oba to be part of the dedication. I do not know, because some people were saying that no invitation was extended, but for me, I cannot speak whether such was extended or not, because the church hasn't even given any kind of statement to buttress what happened. But for me, I think that if we are going to put things in proper perspective, there was a recognition, that's a fact. But what I might advance as a person is, maybe the church could have taken some, even if just a minute, to give acknowledgement to him because of what he did. Because for me, I know, easy to do what he do.
The point I was just trying to make is the fact that most people that go to church believing they're going to church for the priest, or they're going to the church for the bishop, or for the clergy, or for the religious, they don't know what they're going to church for. You don't go to church for those people. Church is a place where you have communal worship. Otherwise, you could have stayed in your house and do the worship. But the idea of church is to have a communal worship. And who do you come there to worship? God Almighty. You are not worshiping the priest. The priest may preside. He's a human just like you. He will preside, and humans will always make mistake. There is politics in church. If you allow politics or church politics to deter your faith, so be it. And we've seen these politics being played from time to time. So they are not immune from politics. Some will even tell you that politics started in the church. You know, the issue of knighthood, bishop, priest, and all that. So let's not go there. The critical thing I want to say is that the man was dramatic. Of course, he did content creation. The video went viral as usual, and we saw the effect of the video. We know very well that late Senator Patrick Ifeanyoba did contribute so much to that cathedral. Some was even comparing Ibeto and Ifeanyoba. Ibeto single-handedly built a church in the Nnewi, and it was named St. Cletus Parish. So they wondered why the cathedral will not be named St. Patrick Ifeanyoba. But they don't even know that St. Cletus is also a saint. And possibly
Patrick is also a saint.
Patrick is also, but in cathedral.
I'm not like a cathedral. Assumption, already know Assumption, and there is St. Patrick in Oka.
Remember, even before St. Cletus built that very church, he didn't ask that the church be named after him. It was an outstation known as St. Cletus Outstation. So he found the need to build a church. Probably the people of Nnewi went for and possibly pressed for St. Cletus Outstation, and they built a brand new church single-handedly. So before sometimes churches are built, most times they are outstations in Catholic system. But that is by the way. Perfect. And then for you to think of cathedral being renamed, but the man, for me, if I ever would have been recognized more than the way he was recognized, he would have been. But then, for the fact they did not do that, it is not enough for you to renounce.
Franklin, while you were away, Mau Jelunga.
See that laughter? Well, you know the thing is, this issue of Manjawanga. Okay, let me come from the point of how it was discussed on Breakambi, because Breakambi took time to discuss that. That somebody from Abu was called upon to give facts about what happened. Because what we saw in the video that was shared on social media was that the speakable, where a masquerade known as Agaba, went on stage to fight Onowu Gunab, who is also from Obu. Not just fighting him, musical equipment were destroyed, and I saw some of the people following the masquerade, throwing bottles, breaking bottles, throwing chairs at Onowu Gunab. Then away from that too, we also saw the kind of should I say behavior that the masquerade displayed while on the road. We saw how a man who was riding a motorcycle almost broke his head because he was trying to dodge from the advancing the menacing advance of the masquerade. We also saw how another person who was riding a bike was begging the masquerade to allow them to pass because they had somebody who was on emergency that needed medical attention urgently, and the masquerade did not listen. Now, people talked about the masquerade called Agaba. That Agaba is a masquerade known for and as such, they didn't see anything wrong in what the masquerade did. And my question to them is this: when you talk about Namona Ike,
does it, or in the land of the dead?
Apart from that, does it amount to destruction? Now, the monk called masquerade, there's also another variant of it called Ozokampo. That's one called Okoma. People who are from Enugu, they will understand what I'm talking about. Agaba, Okoma, Ozokampo, they are almost in the same category of masquerade. Even Ago of Obosi. Now, when you talk about Ibika does not mean to unleash destruction. All that about Mekali. Sometimes when you see all this masquerade coming in, they won't come in through the door. It might scale the fence and come in. In fact, the thing is this: when the masquerade comes into a vicinity, you will know that the masquerade actually came because the way it would dart from one point to the other, people will be running helter-skelter, but it does not leave that kind of destruction we saw somewhere at Obu. And now I was even telling them that somebody was arguing that that there was an announcement that masquerade was going to come, and that why should Onogunab continue to be on the stage before the masquerade arrive. And my point is, let's assume, okay, let's even okay, it was confirmed that is the process, that wherever the masquerade is going, nobody should be on stage, or no music should be, or once it comes in, every other music ends, then it is plays. Given that is the situation, was there no other way for those following the masquerade to have gone to Onogunab to tell him Naibegu, other than what we saw there? So the thing is this, I keep on telling people that if you are saying that was an expression of culture, my question is, culture that depicts barbarism, should we continue to live with it? Because culture evolves, culture is flexible. If that masquerade that was displayed in many years ago, the manner it was displayed in Obu, just assuming, and we have seen that it's no longer preserving life, so should we continue to make it that very way because that was the way it was done? The culture evolves. You are cultural. You learn. When culture becomes barbaric, when it becomes archaic, what do? You are culturate. Those things that are not good, you drop those things and then see how you can make it to serve the contemporary society. You have to serve the contemporary time. So for the fact that police has come in, but people were asking why should police come in? The job of the police is to maintain law and order, protect lives and property. So police believe that public peace has been threatened, and that was why the police came in. So the thing is, I think what happened there is an eye opener to people of Obu, that they should find a way to reform that very masquerade. I think is it from my own town? The first Agaba I saw, and a Kenya Ifenuku, because I'm more na bagala, and a Kenya Ifenuku. If I can now is for control. If I can is for control. So if the masquerade wants to go be sacked, with that very rope, you'll be able to control it and bring it to order. So I think for what happened is an eye opener, and I believe that they will go back to their cocoon and see how they can reform to make the culture to suit the times we are in now.
I was also asking you, I mean, the way some of these masquerades display, one can just deduce, I mean, without any proof anyway, that these people act like they are under some substance influence, and
it's not they act as if they are under substance. The thing is, it's unfortunate that we're discussing in English language. If it was a good program, I will tell you, because this issue of masquerade thing, at least I can talk about it a bit to some reasonable extent.
I believe
the thing is, I spent part of my life in village and in city, so I understand this very thing. Now the thing is, there are sometimes from one house to the other, from one house to the other, even ourselves drinks.
Let me actually come in at this point, because Nigerians are quick to run comparisons, and then if you look around now, people are comparing the Agaba, the masquerade somewhere in Obo, and then the Oru in Ogun. And then Oru, whenever there is Oru festival, we usually see destructive tendencies of the Oru. They move around destroying things. You see youths following the Oru masquerade, burning tires, destroying cars. Plus, I did my NYC in Ogun State.
Is it still obtainable today?
Till date, it's still obtainable. In fact, if you look at the last one, I remember during the Oru Festival crisis in Ogun State, police arrested over 20 youths and then impounded vehicles. But here, the arrest targeted the youths following Oru, the masquerade, rather than the Oru itself, since Oru is a cultic and traditional practice rather than a single masquerade figure. So people are saying, why didn't the police go after those people that we are following the Agaba? That Agaba as a masquerade does not stand on its own. There are those who brought it out because as a spirit That's what it is in our culture. If you brought spirit out, you take responsibility. That arresting Agaba, where you saw Agaba on handcuff and he went viral, that it's a discretion of our culture that you cannot do this to Oru. No, everybody is condemning what Agaba did. Now, what is being argued is the approach, the law enforcement approach. Nobody says whatever Agaba did is right. No. It is completely wrong. You do not cause hateful, preach peace, cause crisis in the name of masquerade. No, you don't do that. But the question now is the approach of law enforcement. That if in the case of the Southwest, Oru, where police will always go after those who follow the Oru, who brought the Oru, because according to them, Oru is also a spirit. Now, Agaba has been arrested. Police has made Agaba a human, even when the community believes Agaba is spirit. So for them, it's a discretion of culture. And if that had been done, those who are following Agaba, because they brought Agaba into the space, and then they allowed Agaba to patrol and do all those things Agaba ordinarily did, where they ought to have control, because frankly talked about the chain. Why would you bring Agaba without putting the chain, so that you can also have a control? You take responsibility. So police should also go for those. For me, those who brought Agaba ordinarily would have been arrested as against Agaba being arrested. So you do not discredit our culture as against what we saw in the Southwest. If you can go after those who are going around Oru, you do not arrest Oru, you also do the same.
So what are you suing for, Tony?
I think what Franklin said is the correct thing, because culture evolves. You don't allow these tendencies to go on. You cannot allow destructive nature of masquerade. And we've seen what I termed them the other time, criminals. That's what I termed them. During this, there's some of these festivals in Gidi. Is it 104 Gidi? And then the one Imoka, stuff like that.
The injury I sustained.
They flog people.
The injury I sustained 2 years ago during Imoka, I still have it on my ankle. Guess what my offense was? I was just going back from work, and lo and behold, when we got to Ukwoji in Oka, those guys had blocked the road, and I stopped, and we stopped there. I just entered filling station. Right there where I was a police, that was how these guys swarmed on me.
We must control.
The injury is still on my ankle now because of culture. I didn't come to enjoy the culture or watch the masquerade. I was just, for the fact the road was blocked, I moved into a filling station. The injury is still on my ankle. Now, so what I'm saying in essence is, in my town some time ago, there was a time there was this very festival that each time it went on, again when the violence. You hear
that is wrong.
But guess what? Community were thinking about how do we now get to have control over this? Now they now began the process whereby any masquerade that leaves for that very festival must have a tag attached to it. And anybody following masquerade, his name must be penciled down somewhere. So that if that masquerade, wreaks any havoc, they will be able to trace the person, they trace the number, trace the tag, trace the person who is following masquerade. So what we're saying in a sense is this: nobody is saying that we should not, practice our culture, we should not exhibit our culture. But for me, any culture that threatens lives and property
should be abolished.
It has to be reformed.
It should be, and apart from that, we have communities, we have the PGs, we have the Igwes. What are they doing? We are in a digital era. Some cultures should be given some level of checks. Yes, during this there will be some of these masquerade, and there is one they usually do where they do flogging competition. The flogging competition, whoever you see, you flog. I saw that at Omonachi. They call it a remede during their remede. That you have the flogging competition.
Even at Bagana.
Okay.
The one they do at Bagana. That one is if you're just passing there.
The Edar or something.
I think something like that.
If you look at it, not everybody is really somehow given to those kind of barbarity. So communities must come. I think we have Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Matters in Anambra State. They should call these our traditional rulers and possibly the PGs. They must do something. Not the masquerade will flog the one in Inobi. What do you call it? Even in Inewi, I've been there, I've seen some of these things. They will flood the road becomes impassable. I thought cultural celebration, is it now going to be on the road? I thought it would have ordinarily be somewhere at the village square.
Okay, totally.
Why the road?
Let me give you an example, because each time I talk about involvement, I'm sorry, but I have to say this. There was a time that each time you hear about one Fogidi, I get willing mother. I'm not telling you that they said I get willing. I'm from Abatete. I get willing mother. And the Abatete and Ogidi used to have this fight over masquerade, because during that very festival, we can on Monday Ogidi Patana Figue, Pianda Batete and Abatete and Moto. The Abatete will now wait for Ogidi join Uzi or Maliko to appear Ogidi. Oh, we can make this very way. Before you know it, it will escalate into a big fight. You begin to hear that now, during the masquerade and now it's not like they say. Masquerade will go, people will go for masquerade display with axe in the pocket. But guess what? Communities knew that these things were not helping them. Lives were being lost, and they rose to reform.
And who are those members of masquerade team? Who are they? Are they free from crime, or are they into any occultic society?
Drug use.
These are things we must also
if
check.
I must be explicit, drug use.
It
is ruining our youth.
And they will be on drug.
It is
parading.
ruining our youth. We need to do something
really
about,
out of place,
especially in rural communities. The manner at which they use drugs,
I don't know if they do that
communities.
in or if you talk about
crazy.
it too, because if you talk about it, you should also be appropriate. In my own village of Sumo, our kind of masquerade is with all form of decency. Honestly speaking, yes, I'm a member of our masquerade.
Okay,
no, being a member does not mean that I follow it around. I'm an initiate. If from Ihiala region,
personally,
every adult. If you're not an adult that has become an initiate at Bogu Obodu. If you are an initiate at Bogu Adoko. So why you are growing up, your parents will bring you into that. Of course, mama in a joker. Yes.
In my ear, Tony, because we're rounding off this conversation already. Personally, I love to see masquerades.
Nothing like Daga, nothing like us, nothing like holding. No.
I'll give a shout out to Onitsha people. I witnessed the masquerade carnival, sort of masquerade festival they had during the carnival, the festival, the Golibe festival they had late last year, and the coordination, the way the masquerades, especially the ones that belong to the age grades, were coordinated. There was zero account of violence and stuff like that. Now, where I come from, I also, as long as I am around and there's a masquerade festival or carnival, best believe I'll be there. I love to see masquerade.
Man, I don't also, because you can't you won't go again.
Makana reformation.
Exactly.
Franklin, in my village, abroad the mawana potena aboso. Ihotafu. Nke abwazi nke mmanwụ pota nwanyi amatu no kada baba no fia.
Why are they to mmanwụ?
Why are they to mmanwụ? But kita no transportation Nathan meaning back in the day, obuna bike bulu wine, maunaga, only to a zogodi. Okay? But as we speak, nifito gwari, maunaga na galomia.
Yeah.
Ndi mada na galomia fa. It's just
but
to
yes, but the bike may be asked to follow this route. Without disturbing the
okay, before now, in places like Oka, one half a buna bike. We've seen videos of every man choba the bike makana obu mado.
No, call car brown and mumbo wine. Whether you are, I just told you my own story. Or guys, whether you are wine or okay, as long as they are already on those their drugs. You understand? Once they're already on those their drugs, whether you are wine or you are okay or you are whatever, if they want to unleash mayhem, they unleash mayhem. And the biggest part of it is, look, maybe even because we're talking about the one knocker. What pained me that very year was the fact that these guys were on the road and this police security men were with them as they were doing their parade. So I was now wondering what was the essence of deploying security people when the festival was ongoing, right? So the thing, what we are saying in essence is our culture is our culture, but like me, any culture that will make me to put my life at danger, so any culture that is going to expose us to danger, we have to find a way to reform so that it will be able to serve the need of contemporary time. Ask us, up now the matter 50 in Igbo land. If you're going to do a sampling, you might be shocked that about 48 would like to watch masquerade, as long as it's decent and done in the most orderly manner.
Absolutely. All right, quickly, we'll tell you what the front pages of the papers say, and then we're going to the deeper part of the political conversations in the country. We have the Punch newspaper, the Vanguard, we have the Nigerian Tribune, and the Guardian. And quickly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, counterinsurgency campaigns, U.S. votes for $13 million for security operations in Nigeria. Authors on page 2, 2026 Fiscal Act backs African burrs, U.S. AFRICOM tracks Russia's military ambition. Armed Forces Day, Tinubu governors celebrate soldiers, fallen heroes on page 12. Also worthy to note that the president wasn't in the country. A Rivers crisis, assembly shall sit in amid rumored plot against speaker on page 7. Alafi kicks as marking day installs Ladoja chairman Evobas council on page 3. 2027 Atiku San joins APC. He left the PDP, backs Tinubu's re-election on page 30.
Okay, so over to Vanguard newspaper. The headlines here. The first one says 152 trillion naira debt driven by forex rates adjustment. Or rather, let's recheck it. 152 trillion naira debt driven by forex rates adjustment. Reforms. Finance Minister is the one saying so. The story is on page 5. It has some riders. Says 30 trillion naira ways and means now recognized. Insist debt rise driven by FX revaluation, not fresh borrowing. 2025 deficit at 3.5 or 3.4% of GDP shows fiscal resilience. Experts react. The gun hegemony, how military incursion arrested Nigeria's growth. Anyoko, Amoka, Badokun, others. They are the ones who are saying so. Check page 7 of Vanguard newspaper. And the picture story says Armed Forces, or rather at Armed Forces Remembrance Finale. And that's the picture story on the front page. Then above the nameplates, we have about 4 headlines. And the first one says Rivers Assembly fails to resume amid impeachment saga. Maybe the hunter have become the hunted. The story is on page 12. Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Tinubu, Shetima, governors, others pay tributes to fallen heroes. The story is on page 27. Abducted doctor in Edo regains freedom after 50 million naira ransom. The story is on page 6. This is quite a sad story because I learned that the doctor was abducted alongside his brother while they were trying to, make an entry into their compound. And a few days ago, the body of his brother was found dead beside a riverbank. But for him, the family was able to raise 50 million naira. That was why he was released. It's quite a sad one. 2026 budget, ministry votes over 500 million naira for makeup artists, hairdressers, grinding machines. The story is on page 9. Our budgets are always crazy. So when you now see ministry voting 500 million naira for makeup artists, so who are they going to make up in the ministry?
Okay, let's go to the Nigerian Tribune. Major headline here is relief for exporters, importers. Banks as Nigeria exits EU financial high-risk list on page 4. The riders here, national economy to grow by 4.7%. That's from the finance minister. Says country has shifted from stabilization to consolidation. Headline inflation is to 15.50% in December 2025. That's from the NBS. Shetima Akbabio, governors, service chiefs, others honor fallen heroes. ADC raises concern over president's absence on page 22. The Wadokun's gun hegemony, a rekindle debate in federalism and democracy on page 22. Alafi absent as Olubado emerges chairman. Oyo Council of Obas and Chiefs on page 6. Makinde revives council 15 years after. 2026 budget, 344.8 billion naira retained for NAS on page 3. Science, technology, innovation to spend 838.6 billion naira. Foreign affairs gets 344.04 billion naira. Article San Abba dumps PDP, vows to mobilize for Tinubu's re-election. His decision to join APC is personal. That's from the ex-vice president Atiku on page 16. That is in charges collected by banks and customers transaction. The NRS is speaking on page 5.
Okay, so from Bangladesh newspaper, the big story there is on pages 4 and 5. It says how 300% cost spike, drug rationing turned diabetes to death threat. Then another story says Kano governor deputy pathways over defection. The story is on page 7. Alleged 110.4 billion naira fraud. EFCC tenders fresh bank records against Yahya Bello authors. You can also read the story on page 7. More banks meet recapitalization threshold as tally exceeds 20. Big stories on page 18, or rather business story on page 18. Armed forces resolute against terrorism, says CDS amid posers about Tinubu's absence. The story is on page 6. NESG project 5.5% growth. 16% inflation in 2026 warns against policy reversals. Okay, he's on page 8. US sanctions. Foreign airlines battle drop in passenger traffic. The story is on page 2. FG ASU deal promises improved post-service welfare for academic staff. The story is on page 25. Fubara's impeachment stalls as lawmakers fail to reconvene. It's on page 27. And the last story here says Atiku's son damns PDP for APC backs Tinubu's second term. The story is on page 2. And this is just like a replica of what happened to a friend of mine, who is a lecturer at a Unizik, Dr. Juku. He told me, during the time of Buhari, he told me how he quarreled with the wife because the wife was supporting Goodluck Jonathan and he was supporting Buhari. And one day he was telling me that he regretted supporting Buhari because it almost made his family to tear apart. And that's the story of politics. Interest drives.
Counterinsurgency campaigns. US votes for $13 million for security operations in Nigeria. Others. And according to this report, the United States plans to spend 587 billion naira on counterinsurgency operations in Nigeria and other African countries in 2026. Amid worsening security conditions across West Africa. The allocation is contained in the U.S. National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2026, obtained by the Punch yesterday. The funds were approved under Title XL3, Operation and Maintenance. That's 18, right? 10-5-3-18, Operation and Maintenance. The security budget for the U.S. Africa Command comes against the backdrop of the Christmas Day attacks on terrorist hideouts in Sokoto State by the Donald Trump administration. And Tony, we've had conversations about US's interference, or would I say assistance in this fight against insecurity. And of course, yesterday was Armed Forces Remembrance Day. We saw the Chief of Defense Staff also promising that the Nigerian military is going to be on top of its game to make sure that the average Nigerian is secure. But then let's look at this money being voted to help Nigeria fight insurgency. Again, I would ask, at what cost? Everything looks like some sugar candy mountain thing right now, just assistance. Is there possibly something lurking behind closed doors? I mean, what Nigeria is going to give in exchange for all of this?
We know very well that issue of insecurity. I've talked about this many times. If you are coming from the angle of what is being given in exchange for whatever support we are going to garner from United States of America or whoever that's going to give us support, have always said nothing is served a la carte, nothing is free. Even if you go to Freetown, you cannot buy food free. Nothing is free in this life. There is always terms and conditions. Most times when you see some companies, when you see some maybe manufacturing firms, they will tell you we are running bonanza, we are doing this, we are giving you this. There is one thing that they will always write at the end: T&C, and that T&C means terms and condition applies. So by the time you read their terms and condition, you understand the implication. So everything you see, there are terms and conditions. So they are not as you are seeing them as the way. But I know many Nigerians will also want to know very well what could be the terms, what could be the conditions. Are those conditions and terms favorable? Are there something we can really deal with, or would they help us, or is it something that would not also hamper whatever we are pursuing? So these are things that are not always given or made public or made in the know. So nothing is served a la carte. So we look at the ensuing relations, because if you look around what is going on now, it seems that Trump is beginning to douse whatever intent he had before now, when he had said that Nigeria will be either invaded, guns ablaze. Those statements. How many Nigerians were happy, we are rejoicing, but Trump seems to be coming down now. He has calmed down. In Nigerian parlance, you always hear be coming down. So he has calmed down. So when he made this very statement that Nigeria, as a case now, is no more Christian persecution, that Muslims are also killed. Maybe many of us have forgotten that there was such a report that Muslims are also killed. And let me say this, Nigerian government has done something quite very important in our own circle. They actually hired lobbyists. There are people paid to lobby their case, especially.
Professionals.
So that's what Nigeria did. And they have contacts with government agencies, government officials in the United States of America. So they were able to penetrate those people. And we are not told how much we paid these lobbyists. It's a professional institution, organization, a professional company. Their work is whenever you need their image to be laundered, especially in the eyes of institutions around United States of America or UK, in the Europe. They come in, you pay them, they do the work. They generate figures, and most times they try to support those figures with their own facts and evidence, and this is exactly what happened. So for what will make Trump to admit that Muslims are also killed, what also important is that with such admittance, everything seems to have calmed down. And of course they have sold some weapons to us. We saw the weapons being delivered. I saw the video. America sold weapons, so many things they sold.
So
to
let's
us.
talk about let's talk about oversight and of course monitoring and usage. We have had Chicano jets imported in Nigeria, and Tony, they never went up to the sky, and if they did, sparsely, right? So what's the guarantee that all of this money is being pumped in now? What's the guarantee that all of these weapons acquired now are going to be effectively used? And I mean, over the years, we've had billions voted for security, and we are still where we are. So what's the guarantee that what America is bringing in now is going to make the desired change?
There's no guarantee. We've seen these deliveries before now. We've seen Nigeria taking into custody some of these armaments, but has anything changed? So when you're asking what will be the guarantee, there's no guarantee. We don't have that checks, we don't have that balance, we don't have that oversight, we don't have that mechanism to checkmate how these things are used. Not that we cannot put these things in place, but the point remains that we have weak institutions, and we've been budgeting so much amount of money in our military, but from year in year we've seen these things not having maybe much expected effects. Insecurity is still in the country as we speak. We don't know what is going on in any place now, and we can't be sure of security being guaranteed. We cannot be sure, and we have made proposals on how we can go about some of these things and see how we can reshape our security architecture. None of these things is being looked into. As we speak now, the president has been out of the country since, was it 28 or 29 December? 28 or 29 December. He spent the new year outside the country, but we saw him at the Abu Dhabi Climate Sustainability Summit, where he addressed the congregants. And we also knew very well that he was spotted somewhere in France with Rwandan President Paul Kagame. So since then, we believe probably he moved from France to Abu Dhabi. So now he has been there, as we saw yesterday during the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. We saw what went across different states, how the wreaths were laid by this president and by the state governors, and also the vice president Kachim Chatima, who represented the president at the ceremony in Abuja. We saw some of these things, and some promises made to honor the fallen heroes and those in service. Well, it's a different ball game, maybe something we may talk about later on, because sometimes you hear these promises during this period, but nothing follows up immediately after these ceremonies are over. Now we are talking about not really our relationship with the United States of America, but we are talking about the issue of security again, which is also cardinal. As we speak now, someone will say, oh, see, there seems to be calm in some parts of the country. We've not heard about major or big incident since the one we saw during the New Year period. So we have not seen much again. But the truth remains that we are looking around. I saw where the Chief of Defense Staff yesterday made a very, very bold statement where he said that a friend of a thief is also a thief. And people said he was referring to Gumi. That if you are sympathetic to the cause of the bandits, these insurgents, it means also you a bandit.
So what do you say to governors who negotiate with them? What do you say to people who exchange?
I think the minister, when he was being interviewed, he said there will be no more negotiation, there will be no more repentant Boko Haram. You know, the thing is,
just Kaduna, the other day we were told that in Kaduna there was a peace deal that warranted release of bandits and terrorists for citizens that were
I thought the point is, I have said many times, we don't have policy, we don't have legislation on this. National Assembly have said many times that they are idling. Can they come up with a legislation on this issue of peace deal negotiation and issue of repentant Boko Haram? There should be a law, national law on these issues, so that any state government who goes on to do whatever, we know definitely there is a national law on this, so the person or the state government can be taken to court. The idea of legislation is not just to see immediate or radical change. The idea is to know very well that you are on the wrong side of the law, that you can also be prosecuted and charged by those things you are doing. So I have asked many times, why don't we have legislation and acts of the National Assembly on this issue of peace deal, negotiation, repentance? There was a protest the other day where some group of army officers were shouting that there will be no that these people should not be reintegrated into their fold. Why? Because some of the attacks they've had came as a result of this issue, divulging secret information, their operational move, their movements, how they will, and sometimes they have been paying dearly for such reintegration. What are you reintegrating? And it was something former chief of army staff Burutaya advocated. He was there for a very long time with Malami. So you hear some cases and some reports going on where it was alleged that Malami, those who were charged for terrorism or narco-terrorism where they use drug to buy weapon for terrorism, so narco-terrorism, those who were charged, those who were arrested, their cases were withdrawn, their cases were either swept aside by Malami as Attorney General. So these things are surfacing from time to time. It tells you quite a lot about this very country. Is that the way we are fighting insecurity? If these reports could come from one quarter or the other, even when we cannot really confirm truly, but so many people have believed that it's happened. And in fact, I have some contacts that say that they can always be called upon to testify over these things.
Yeah.
And we see some retired army officers coming out to say that look at what Malami did. And if Malami could be alleged to have done all these things, it tells you the kind of insurgency we are fighting. We are not serious. Those who are fighting insurgency are in another way trying to propagate what they are fighting. They're propagating insurgency. So that's the case we've seen ourselves. So if you ask the arms or whatever we have been receiving from United States of America as a military support to fight these things, how accountable with these arms? Nobody conducts audit of our armory. I don't know the last time we've got such audit of our armory, how these things were used. But some will tell you that sometimes, if I've seen a wife of a soldier who comes out to say that if you release a bullet, you account for it. That you don't just release a bullet like that. When the woman was actually crying for the death of the husband, saying that she knew what the husband as an officer passed through, so they were accounting for some of these things from time to time, because the superiors will always harangue them to do those accounts. But aside that, Who do the superiors account for?
The superiors account is
That's the most important thing.
We understand that the money that US has allocated is supposed to be for Nigeria and other African nations. Now, looking at West Africa, for instance, we have countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, and which other country now? Niger, being under military rule. And so I am wondering how we are able to collaborate, because some of the issues of insecurity we have been linked to trans-border banditry, all right? And so I'm wondering how we can collaborate in the face of, military versus democracy, and of course, where America is going to stand in all of this.
I think the point is, these things are small screen. All these things I'm saying, they are small screen. We've not been able to address the issue. You have not been able to address the issue. These things are small screen. There's no doubt. What have we done to demonstrate that we are serious in fighting insurgency? What have we done?
In terms of collaboration?
Is it today we started having collaboration with the United States of America? Is it today?
What about other African nations?
Or is it today we've started having this collaboration with other African nations? Nobody will fight those things for you if you do not do your own work. Nobody will do it for you. Nobody will do it for you. I keep saying it. Even when Trump was shouting, we do this, we must protect Christians and all that. He's telling you about protecting Christians, not to stamp out insecurity in your own country. His concern is about protecting Christians. His concern is not about uprooting insecurity in your country. If you don't do it, nobody does it for you. If you want them to do it, you pay them. If you want their assistance, they will render such assistance and will tell you how much you pay. You think they are doing for the Christmas. You pay with their oil. Rock route. There are things you can pay for.
Okay, there be political implications.
So that could be, because if you look around where they fired their missile, we're told they stationed their naval ship somewhere at the Gulf of Guinea. So we have AFRICOM, African this thing, command. So that is by the way. The point I'm trying to make is we have not done anything to demonstrate that we are strongly and seriously dealing with insecurity. We have made a lot of proposals. Many scholars, many nationalists, they have come up and said, look, we have to do this, we have to do that. We are not doing this, we are not getting this right. None has been done, and they want change overnight. Because United States of America started selling weapons to you based on the image laundered by the lobbyists who were able to change the narrative that Muslims are also prosecuted. These people killed indiscriminately, which made Trump to also calm down. So it does not take us anywhere anyway, because we are still in it. We must do those practicable things to demonstrate that truly we must make security to be local. There are many communities, I've said it many times, you cannot find a single policeman. You're talking about policeman, not even a single defense person, either Nigerian civil security and civil defense. You can't see their member there, not even a vigilante. So when these communities face attack, what would they do? They will be wiped out like chicken. When we are calling for government to restructure the architecture so there will be presence of security at all time in those communities, government seem not to be listening to that, or busy with other things. Many spaces you will not find security. So when these people want to come, their attack is usually simple for them. They will do those things within hours, and nothing happens, no resistance. They will go without anybody stopping them on the way. Is that the way to continue in this 2026? That's not the way to go. Okay. Forget what you are seeing. These things are small screen. They are just for the optics. We have not done anything to demonstrate that we are serious in fighting insecurity.
All right, then let's go over to the Guardian newspaper. The banner headline is how 300% cost spike, drug rationing turned diabetes to death threat. And of course, we are learning that with 30,000 to 40,000 yearly diabetes-induced deaths occasioned by over 300% increment in medication costs and healthy religious and cultural beliefs and inadequate care facilities, diabetes has become worse than a silent epidemic, belonging to the top 10 killer diseases in Nigeria and afflicting over 11.4 million citizens. The ailment, many say, is receiving little attention from the federal government, with attendant policy gaps, poor funding, and shrinking access to care. Stakeholders warn that with patients fast rationing medicines and abandoning clinics to get by, cost-wise, Rising cases of stroke, kidney failures, and amputations could push up the morbidity figures. And that's a report from the Guardian newspaper. And particularly interested in this because we look at what the economy has become and how drugs that used to be bought for give or take a pack of Galvus Med, that's the it's a brand, sorry to that's particular brand, it's like an insulin tablet, if I'm not mistaken, that most diabetic patients take. The one that has NAFDAC number, I think it has to the German and the France, if I'm not mistaken. The one that has NAFDAC number goes for as much as 48,000 for six would I say sachets, and at the end of the day, on the average, a diabetic person takes that for a month or a little more. And looking at the cost of living in Nigeria, the purchasing power parity, and what Nigerians earn, Tony, you see how it is rigged against the average Nigerian. Knowing fully well that diabetes could be hereditary, I also noticed that a lot of times when people have these leg ulcers that often lead to amputation, a lot of times you hear things like it's a poison, and I realized from experience actually that many people just have diabetic ulcers unattended. They get out of hand, and people just have to move about with this thinking it is something else. And according to this report, it is sometimes coming from trying to cut cost, they're trying to make sure that you get by, and at the end of the day, incidents like this keep happening. And so I am curious to find out, Tony, what can we do as a people, and what should we be requesting of the government, especially for issues like diabetes? I mean, America, for instance, used to help a lot with ailments like HIV/AIDS. We've also had a lot of intervention in terms of malaria management. Talk about the distribution of free mosquito nets, distribution of free treatment. How do we arrest this spread in the morbidity rate from diabetes?
I think many of us that know much about diabetics knows that it is one of the most prevalent and chronic medical condition that has affected many lives in this country. There's no doubt. And we know very well that diabetes is a chronic medical condition in which the body cannot properly regulate blood sugar, that is glucose, due to problems with insulin production or use. And we are just talking about diabetes mellitus. So over time, high blood sugar damages organs and nerves, leading to serious health consequences, which we have seen. You've named many of them: stroke, amputation, and other chronic diseases we've seen. We've got that if you look at our report, over 11 million Nigerians are living with diabetes, largely type 2. I am aware that systematic health studies also estimated around 7%. So many people with diabetes in Nigeria are undiagnosed to start with. Many are undiagnosed until complications start appearing. Some people may not even know that they are diabetic until they start seeing complications. In fact, up to 80% of cases are only detected after serious problems have developed. There's no doubt. So we know very well that diabetes is fast rising in Nigeria, and government hasn't done so much in that area, because you talked about what government is doing in the area of HIV, possibly the assistance we get from different world bodies, international donors in that area. But you also mentioned that we've not started getting such assistance in the area of diabetes. We know very well that high sugar processed food, most of these soft drinks we take, and our dietary habits. You see someone in the morning, he eats cassava, in the afternoon he takes rice, with a soft drink. At night, the person will crown it all with possibly something, let's say, something, possibly another sugar induced food. At the end of the day, nobody's helping each other. Most of the foods we take, rice, yam, cereal, and these carbohydrates, we take them morning, afternoon, night. What are we doing? We are piling up the chances of diabetes. That's what the answer. And before you know it, people will take malt, mineral, and even alcohol. And these things, when processed, they are all sugar. When the body digests, it first ingests, from ingestion, digestion, then you have assimilation, you have absorption, and before you get ejection, all these things, by the time the process is complete, it becomes sugar again. And by the time the Krebs cycle, there's what we call tricarboxylic cycle by Mr. Krebs, one of his founders. They find out that the oxidation, the complete oxidation of some of these things, it boils down to the same thing. So the point I'm trying to make is government hasn't done much. And some of the signs we see will be where you have kidney failure, heart diseases, liver failure. And when you have some of these things, you have the legs, being swollen, amputation, stroke, and all these things. Dietary habits. These things you just pointed out, they are those by the nature of their hormones and hereditary. They are given to diabetics. I've said it many times. I think my grandmother was susceptible to that, even my father, my uncle, and it tells a lot. What is government doing? And if you look at the cost of such treatment, it is so high, very, very expensive. And just like I said, over 80% of people are not diagnosed. They don't even know they have it until the signs start coming out, and by then it will add to the cost of treatment because the person has been into that for a long time without even knowing, so it becomes so difficult. And what is government doing about that? Awareness campaign. Has government set up free diagnostic centers where people can get these diagnoses, get known that they are this, to know what they will avoid, to change habit, to change style, to change quite a lot of things, and also the drugs. See, we have not seen such assistance coming from government. When we say that our health system, our health institution is completely grounded, it is one of the facts to support that notion. It is one of the reasons to support the notion. Many Nigerians die so much from careless, not just carelessness, but at the same time unattended medical issues. That's why sometimes what is really running now will be where some people will come on social media, will see some spirited individuals, they will ask for support, they will cry and ask people for support. That's the way we'll be managing. And the question is, what is government doing? We've seen some people, they will come on social media, show the picture of the person, show the image of the person, ask people for support, for treatment. Those that will be taken abroad will be taken abroad because we have a kind of a patriarchal medical system here. We talked about the other time MRI scan machine, and we spoke about how many hospitals in Nigeria can boast of that. So it has always been so. Before you talk about stroke, sometimes you have hypertension, blood pressure, the rise of blood pressure, and you have stages. Many people don't even know about it. We need awareness campaign, we need advocacy, we need this push for people to change their dietary habits. We need people to start consuming vegetables, yes, fiber related food. And then the issue is there is hunger in the land, and you are telling somebody fiber related food, go and take food rich in fiber when the person has not even seen even the one rich in cassava or rich in carbohydrates. I don't know if you understand the point I'm trying to make. So the issue is government in that area has abandoned governance. It's also part of governance. It's also part of the welfare and well-being of the people. It has abandoned it completely. If you go to Ministry of Health, what will you see there? At the state level, at the local government, and even at the federal level, what are they doing? Are the hospitals equipped? And this issue of diabetes is something government must take serious. It's kind of disease that it suffers the person and make the person to pay through the nose. A painful agony. That's what it's like. So seriousness must be attached to that. It is killing our people on daily basis.
All right then, we're going to take a break now, attend to some commercials. Once we come back, we'd almost open the phone lines, but that would not be until Tony, we take a look at what's happening in Rivers State. There are new indications that there is now a rumored plot against the speaker. How do you see this? I mean, the speaker who led that move to impeach Fubara, there is now a plot against him. Recall that a few days ago we mentioned that 2 people withdrew, and yesterday we mentioned that 2 other people withdrew. And Tony, you mentioned that 1 more person and they can no longer impeach him, because now they are down to 22 persons who signed that move to impeach Fubara. We're also learning that the sitting that was scheduled for yesterday did not happen because these lawmakers are now planning to impeach Ameule if this sitting actually does happen, Tony.
The person who is doing the hunting has become hunted. That's just one of the proverbial saying. And yesterday we did extensive work trying to imagine certain political dynamics and what may have changed and what may not have changed, and why these people are acting the way they're acting, those who are withdrawing from the game. And we said very much that the impeachment will not succeed. That was our conclusion yesterday, that the impeachment will be void. And remember, Amehule, the speaker, is positioning himself to become the governor. And we said it yesterday. And some other members would ask, if you become the governor, what becomes our own? Even if we redistribute some positions, what becomes of our own? That is the question. So, with the way things are, there was a rumor that Mr. President is not in support of that impeachment and warned Wike. Is a rumor. We can't confirm that rumor, that Mr. President warned Wike to fix governance at FCT. You cannot abandon your work as FCT minister for 17 days. You are touring local government in.
Speaking about the FCT, one chance drivers are killing his people.
And the issue is, you abandon your work and went and start doing what ordinarily governor should be doing in his home state. And you were parading around with dispatch riders, with long convoy, leaving FCT where you ought to have been doing that kind of thing. And you left your territory to another territory, moving around the whole town, going around in whatever you call Thanksgiving. And many at the cabinet, many ministers and those who are members of the cabinet, we are not really in approval of such anomaly. And many of them spoke to Mr. President according to the rumor and told Mr. President, this is not the way. Even if we know we must win river, you can win river with or without wicked support. With Fubara, you can win rivers. So why would these things be giving the government negative image? So the rumor has it that Mr. President warned the minister to mind his business, that this should not repeat. So, and if you look at the body language of Mr. President since then, some of these members may have read the handwritings on the wall with the knowledge that if Mr. President is not in support of this, there's no point continuing with this. So yesterday we saw the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and many people started evoking the January 15, 1966 coup we talked about yesterday. I saw what Femi Fanikayo posted. May the souls of these people rest in peace. And Nigerians went about calling him all sorts of names, and they asked him, when you ask that the souls of those he listed rest in peace, what about the souls of those who were killed in the return march, the July coup?
When we get there, we would also ask that their souls rest in peace.
But then if we look around, we are talking about fallen heroes. So we are those people not part of fallen heroes. So, and in fact, the people went as far as calling the names of these people, where they are from, and all that. And we've seen their stories. And then if I looked at the post where Femi Fani-Kayode was saying, "May the souls of Amadu Bello, his wife Habisi, that was shot by Major Chukwuma Nzogu, and then even the young soldier that was to protect Samadu Bello, whom Chukwuma Nzogu directed to shoot Samadu Bello." He said he can't take life, and then he was shot by Major Chukwuma Nzogu. He shot the wife of Amadu Bello, and then shot Sergeant Adegoke, even Sergeant Ahmed Ben Musa, many of them. And we saw what happened that was what happened in Kaduna. And also we saw how Major Timothy Onwatuegu from Ohaji Egbema in Imo State killed Brigadier Ademologun and his 8-month pregnant wife in the presence of their children. So we also saw how Major Ifejina from Onitsha here, how he shot Tafawa Balewa inside a bush alongside that Abiyokuta Road, and other things that happened. So before he had killed Brigadier Mai Malara along Awolowo Road. We also saw how Major Chris Anuforo from Abia, also in Lagos, killed Colonel Pam, and also other things that happened. Even Captain Emmanuel Wobo say how they killed Adekunle. So these things happen, but the way some of these people put this narrative, many Nigerians, came against them because he had tribal lines, tribal sentiments, without also looking at those who also for the whole thing that happened the way it happened. But just like I said yesterday, the Remembrance Day is not about the coup; it's about the end of the Civil War. That's just the focus. But they are shifting the narrative from the end of the Civil War to what happened on that July. On that January 15, 1966, and other things that happened. So it was their intent to install Awolowo, just like I said yesterday, as the president. Remember, Awolowo was tried for treason in 1963 after the Wide West riot in 1962, Western Region House of Assembly. The issue that broke him and then the premier of that very area, and then how the premier wanted to side with the ruling party, and which he insisted that they must stand on their ideology, and it led to a lot of things. The election, we discussed some of these things yesterday, and how the premier went and formed Nigerian National Democratic Party and used it to rig election against the action. We said all these things yesterday. These were some of the accumulation that led to the coup of January 15, 1966, and other things that followed aftermath. So let's leave it at that.
All right, we'll leave it at that now. Attend to some commercials. When we come back, we'll open up the phone lines. Just stay, and don't forget we are live on Facebook, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. That's our handle.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, I'll pack it on the yellow. Wendy's bread, Mama, Papa, they like Wendy's bread, kitchen and Wendy's bread, even children, they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, get it better, that's the way go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your body.
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Misha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tan Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
When you think of roofing, think of strength. When you think of durability, think of beauty. And when you think of all three combined, think Best Aluminium MFG Limited. At Best Aluminium, we don't just manufacture roofing sheets. We create protection, comfort, and style for your home and business. Whether you're building from scratch or repairing an old roof, we have exactly what you need. Our products include stone-coated roofing sheets, aluminum roofing sheets, and colored roofing sheets. But that's not all. We also offer residential and commercial roofing services, roof repairs, gutters, emergency roofing services, and even durable cookwares that bring quality to your kitchen. Visit us today at 30/32 Anyika Street, Awada Obosi, Anambra State, or call us right now on 0806 416 2374 or 0706 059 6203. With Best Aluminium, you're investing in peace of mind, in beauty, and in the future of your home. Because when it comes to roofing, the best choice is always Best Aluminium MFG Limited. Tomorrow's technology today.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Join the conversation now. The numbers to call are 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. 0803-827-6694, 0803-221-6973. Let's hear you. You can also join the conversation by dropping a comment on Facebook. Good morning.
Good morning, system.
Good morning.
Good morning, my speaker, Tony Becker.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
I'm Franklin. I did the voice of organization to go in from our region came back. My speaker, all what you was read there, what would you read? You see, what happened to Atiku? It shows that Atiku is a liberalized man. He's a liberal man. He's not clear to follow him. I give him kudos for that. But in other ways, it's a thing. Mbaba Wajifa is a thing to him. So let us watch and see. And in other ways, he may be there. He may send his son to be in APC. To monitor things. That is possible in the politics. If you are inside them, you know what they are doing. Coming to American support, it's a weapon one. But users of that weapon, how can they use it? Nigerians do some things that are not palatable. That weapon may be handed over back to the bandits. That's no problem. So I ask the American people to monitor how the weapon is being used. How they might use their weapon. Because they may use it and sell it back for money gain. This is what is happening in this country. We are witnessing many times the army chief of staff using money made for weapons for his own personal use. It will happen in this country. So let me stop so far. Thank you very much.
All right then. Thank you for your contribution. Good morning.
Good morning, Chisom Chinadu.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm in the studio.
You're welcome.
I'm Anthony Mechesa, speaking this morning from Onitsha. I want to speak on the America's cooperation with the Nigerian government in the fight against insecurity. And over decades now, we have seen the delivery of ammunition and weapons, which Nigeria couldn't access even from administration past that now they are assessing it in collaboration with the U.S. government. And we have seen success recorded in the fight against insurgency. And the pressure has been mounted on the government of Nigeria so as to put aside every politics and favoritism and manipulation that has been seen in the capital of Nigeria. So I must commend the U.S. government on that line. Although they may be going to the extreme in encroaching beyond the limitation of a foreign body, encroaching to one's sovereignty. But we will not continue to defend and talk about sovereignty when we are losing it as a sovereign nation. So if our sovereignty will be breached a bit, and again the sovereignty of Nigeria and the security and lives of Nigerians are being protected, I think so be. Even the political play in Nigeria is becoming interesting. As it goes on, entering APC, we are going to see how that we measure on the chances of becoming a candidate even in APC. Even as we are hearing now, the developing and breaking story in River State, where those four lawmakers who withdrew consent for the impeachment has even rejected the council their withdrawal, and they are fully joined the rest of the House members, and the impeachment is not going on. So the thing is the sounding interesting now, and we are watching out to see where the pendulum will now swing to. The president is out of the country now, but I know he is actively involved in what is happening in this nation. So let's see how the thing unfolds. Kudos to the U.S. military on the cooperation they are negotiating with the Nigerian government, and we are seeing successes on that line. Any stuff so far.
Okay, thank you. Let us hear what you have to say. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Hello there.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Chisholm.
Good morning.
And the Franklin.
You're welcome.
Good morning to you. Yeah, Chichi Chukwuma joining you from Boston.
Go ahead, please.
I want to speak on this issue of masquerade in Igbo land. We are not the only people that have the masquerade. I've been in the southwest, and I know that they have their own masquerade culture. And one of it is that Ayo. Anytime they have such a masquerade carnival, it attracts even foreigners. Even so many people from the foreign countries came to watch the Ayo festival, and it's earning them a whole lot of money having such culture. Here in Igbo land, we have the same culture. We remember the Umwoji masquerade carnival, which attracts people from other regions coming to the Umwoji to watch the masquerade. And those ones are well organized ones. But where we have issue is this individual going around even in an environment that is not yet the stranger's element, involving a masquerade in another stranger's land. That is where we have problem of young people. And most of them are not actually initiated into the masquerade. Because if you are not initiated, you may not even know the law. And then that masquerade we have among the people who are not initiated are not real masquerade, but the counterfeit of that. And that is why they involve in different kinds of crime, because they don't know the rules and regulations. Masquerade is a cult, and you have to know it has its own secret. That is why you can come to the radio or any media to open up. If you are really initiated into the masquerade, talk about that reverse culture. So the why we are having issues because of the people that are supposed to introduce the reform are silent, maybe because of church and so on and so forth. But this thing is crying for reform, change. There is a need to there are moving around with cane and so on. I think in the culture or the situation in the country, the modern society don't need such a harassment. And that is why we have to reform it. To stop those to one, but to the well-organized one, we have to come up with the ideas of regulating it from time to time. So then our traditional ruler and the PGs, they have a work to do. I don't think that is strange. It is very, very appalling hearing that the masquerade is being arrested and taken to the police station. Those police don't even know your culture. So it's just like a bastardizing our culture. So we need our traditionals to come up with ideas of reforming it so that all these problems will be over. Good morning.
All right then. Good morning to you too. Hello, good morning. Are you there? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, my name is George, calling from Asaba.
Go ahead, George.
Yeah, you see, I will ask our speaker. Since we have been doing this for 6 days, is it right for our president to be out of the country for observing the armed forces day? We need to understand that. And secondly, with the way politics of the is going about, the insecurity and the situation between and America, I don't expect our president to be out of the country for this long. With that now, can the speaker exactly where is our president now as for today?
Because before he did Udala, he gave a sanction, give a law and the rule and regulation that any masquerade that is eating president necessarily where the masquerade will be holding and the masquerade will pay amount of 30 million. Rather, if the masquerade will not masquerade or whatever, the community will pay the amount of 2 million. So that's how it would be law. And if you watch when it is the opera, everything going normal, as in no problem, no violence on this day. So I am telling other kings in Igbo land whether they will learn from Igbo experience. Thank you.
All right then. Well, he's asking the other kings to learn. We're hoping that they learn. They don't wait till things become really hard. Good morning.
A pleasant morning to you, Susan.
Good morning.
And a pleasant morning to you, Franklin.
Good morning.
A wonderful morning to your honorable speaker, Chief of Authority and Beck.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Honorable Austin, teaching from Nodi. Yeah, let me take on the issue of masquerade. It will interest you that our traditional rulers and our traditional legends have failed their obligations. Let us be frank. You shouldn't allow this to get to this point before it started raising alarm. I was once a victim of all this their bad behavior, tyrannical attitude. They unleash heavily on me, giving me a serious cut. That once you get your eyes on that spot, you seem as if this guy was once a bad influence before he sustained that kind of injury. So it doesn't sound well to our culture. Our culture demands good decorum. That we are seeing tyrants priding themselves in the name of masquerade. And I want to advise the governor he should seize this opportunity because he's a town, a friendly governor. He should use this opportunity to curb this menace. Having said that, I want to talk about this issue of our president not being around to witness this Remembrance Day. I think it's kind of lacuna. No matter whatever, how cogent your script might be, you should remember that these servicemen, the ex-ones and present, they have paid ultimate sacrifice for this country, and your presence to eulogize them matters a lot. I think it people who are around the president you advise him. Now, I will say that in my conclusion, what is playing out in River State, I think Martin, a faction, himself, he allows himself to be used, knowing full well that Wiki is dancing last man standing. I once said this, that this impeachment will not see the light of the day. And what is playing out today is kind of dedicating my thoughts. And Martin, whatever he wished, the governor, he is as well reaping it, because people are not being sympathetic to him, because he allows himself to be used, and now the payback is coming. Let me stand by. Thank you so much.
All right, then. I think we just head over to Facebook now.
Now, talking about River State, the news coming this very morning, the breaking news is that the four lawmakers who were calling for truce, they have made a U-turn, and they are saying that impeachment of Udala is on course. That's the latest news we have this very morning regarding what is playing out in River State. So over to our Facebook page, we have this very post coming from the Collins Uzomo Wakwe, and he posted from Onitsha, Anambra State. He says, on the point on table this very morning, let me say this: those who are controlling the masquerade should be blamed. Let me tell you a story. In Benue State, the Doma speaking part of the local government area, if they are like which is a masquerade is coming out for burial or anything, even churches do close. It's culture, and those people don't joke with their culture at all. The problem we talk about are those people controlling it. But what if somebody decides to go and challenge that? Culture that restricts freedom of movement, can that stand before the law? Then our other post we have here says it's from Olu Chichima. He says, my question to the governor of Anambra State, who is telling the Igbo youth to join the military, doesn't he have youths in his house? Why can't he bring back his son for UK to join military? And okay, I think I got a message. Okay, so we'll be responding to one of the headlines on Punch newspaper. Abba Anthony from he says he's watching from Warri Delta State. He says River State government has turned to tortoise. They don't miss from a story every day. One different story from. Okay, I think that should be one story from River State every day. And the worst thing there is how they do bring. Anthony, I'm quite sorry. I'm quite sorry that it's difficult for me to articulate what you wrote. Dr. Misimu Lebra from Warri says, how did we get here? Who led us here? What a wasteful leadership that is uncontrollably squandering all our resources. Any leadership without direction keeps running in circles, with one step forward and 10 steps backwards. This means that they are not even ready to fight insecurity, bribing America to accept what is unacceptable instead of using that money to fight insecurity. And they have the mind to even overtax bleeding masses to donate blood. We must all reap what we are sowing. Okay, Master B says Christian generosity is in heaven, not on earth. The knight in Assumption Cathedral Newi has made up his mind to leave the church. Okay, he posted from Onitsha. Amadi McDon Mike says, he posted from Ofega Onitsha. He says government should look into this masquerade of a thing, because many of them use it as a target. That's how a masquerade killed a young guy from Upe Imerianwe in Ngobala, government of Imo State years back. He says this is getting out of hand. Anthony Mera, thank you for watching from Zamfara State. Likewise, Solomon Iboko, who is watching from Bakaliki near Babani, say thank you for the encomiums. Anons Emmy says arresting the Agaba masquerade can never be described as a desecration of Igbo culture. So the man that the masquerade pushed down while his bike was on motion, what if the man died? So the masquerade should be left to walk free. Also, Francis Omaga Namani from Amagonzin in Enugu State says the federal government should adopt anti-open grazing law to checkmate the activities of land herdsmen in the country. And he said the stitch in time saves 9. Ogwamaka It's a Chuku. Thank you for watching, and thank you for the kind words too. And Yerobi and Young, thank you too for watching. And I think that should be all for now. Yes, some other persons came to repeat themselves.
Okay then, Tony, what are your final words going to be?
Well, we've seen everything the way it is going from the reports we've gone out. The 4 members they have recounted, they have been given money by those who are sponsoring impeachment, and we are going to watch the proceeding as well. Why that was shelved yesterday, it's now obvious that to allow time to talk to these 4 members so that they would shift their stance, and somebody must have done that. Trust some week, he must have called them, he must have made promises, he must have done everything. But then let's see how that goes. But these 4 honorable members, they have shown how dishonorable they could be. You can't make a statement in a space of some days, I think 3 days or thereabouts. You are also recounting. So what does that show? But that's by the way, because I've said many times it's gonna be dramatic. One man is busy trying to do what he thinks he can do, but we are waiting to see how the whole thing evolve. So we are waiting to see the evolution of things. So we'll wait and see to the end. So we keep watching.
All right then, thank you, Tony, for your analysis today. You, Franklin, your final words.
Well, River State as of now can be likened to the time of primary election for big political parties, where it becomes bazaar, and you might think that you have this very delegate in your pockets in the morning, and in the evening somebody comes and makes a better offer, and he switches camp. So for those who are invested now, it's the height of politicking for the lawmakers and also for some other politicians who are behind everything. So what it means is they're enjoying their game in the words of Wiki, while the masses, languish and suffer, because at the end of the day, the persons who are suffering are the masses, because governance is going to be stalled, while these very guys play what they call their politics. It's quite appalling. And I keep on saying, for our people, I think we need to understand that in my own evaluation, we need to understand that the people we elect into lawmaking bodies are more important than the person we elect as a president or governor. Because if we elect men of strong character as lawmakers, those excesses of the executive, they'll be able to check it. Those representation that we are lacking, they'll be able to do that. But once we elect lackeys who are appendages of the chief executive, what do we expect? They all go there and begin to sing Hosanna, and on your mandate to stand. And just like what we have in Animal Farm, Boxer is Napoleon is always right. We are going to work more. So I think it's time for us to begin to think about what we do and how we can make it better.
All right then, thank you for your wonderful analysis. Absolutely. The Polity is going to make a return on Monday, 9:15 down to 11 a.m. Until then, you do your best to, as a Nigerian, a patriotic one, to help us get the Nigeria that we desire. I am Chisom Chinedu. Good morning to you.